So how was that for an intro?
What an intro.
I feel like I'm on the evening news.
Welcome, everybody. I see we've got a lot of people online already. We've got Susan Wenograd and Gavin Bell with us. It's a pleasure to have you over. Welcome, both of you.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, and this is Susan's second time here within the last 2 months, I believe, which is awesome.
Yeah, it feels very familiar.
Yes, indeed. Okay, as people are jumping in here, let me just turn off my Slack because it'll just drive everybody crazy. And please, everybody, we see you in the comments. Please introduce yourselves. Tell us where you're from. We always love to see that. We love to see familiar faces. If you're joining in on the Wave.video community group, we are delighted to have you there. There's a lot of conversation going on. If you don't know about it, please join in. If you're on LinkedIn, please be aware we might not see your comments, so we're not ignoring you. And if you're on one of our Facebook channels or YouTube, we should be able to see you here. So feel free to add your comments, questions. This is going to be, I assume, a very lively discussion here going on today. Again, welcome to Susan and Gavin, and we will jump right into it. There is COVID-19 hit. Everybody's working from home or not working. Everybody's shopping from home, and this kind of disrupted everything, right? Everything changed. So what exactly changed? Gavin, let's start with you. Maybe you tell us maybe a couple of sentences about yourself. For those who don't know you here watching, they should. So maybe start with a couple of sentences about yourself, and then maybe tell us about what actually changed. What have you seen changing?
Yeah, so a little bit about me is I do two main things, really. I run a Facebook advertising agency. We work with brands all over the world now. We're an official Facebook marketing partner. And I also have a membership site called the Funnel Academy, where we work with brands to help them, or work with small business owners, I should say, to help them build and create their own profitable ad campaigns and marketing funnels. And it's been such a crazy few months, really, or weeks with the whole COVID-19 situation. You know, we've seen some of our clients are increasing their spend and spending more on Facebook. Some of our clients are decreasing spend. Some clients are stopping altogether because their businesses had to close. And so it's just been, from an agency perspective, it's been an just insane period of time. But in that, I think there are a lot of opportunities for people. And also there are, you know, in some cases, there's going to be cases where it's best for a business to, you know, stop advertising or reduce their budget. And so I'm interested to talk about all this stuff today.
Awesome. And Susan, maybe introduce yourself quickly and tell us what have you been seeing?
Sure. So I am a chief marketing officer at an agency named AimClear. I have been doing paid media since 2007. So I do Facebook advertising, pretty much any kind of paid social, and then paid search as well. So that's also been interesting to kind of see some of the differences between the platforms and what's going on with that. And like Gavin, I think we've had the same experience where we've had some clients that it's been a good time for them to kind of double down and they're doing well. And then we have other clients where it just makes almost no sense for them to spend money. So it's been an interesting mix. We're a full service agency. So the other thing that's been interesting too is for, you know, clients to say, maybe I don't need to be doing paid media, but maybe it's now time that I actually revisit the content strategy I keep saying I'm going to make and I never have, or maybe we need to pivot to working on SEO for a while. So things that might not be as instant gratification, but that they want to have in place when the economy picks back up again. So it's been interesting to watch how people are shifting that, the services level, you know, from possibly they're not spending on the paid media as much, but they still want the marketing services. It's just they're doing it in different ways.
So, so let's get a little more specific. So first of all, what are the underlying shifts? I know we've mentioned in the teaser for this video that the cost per click has dropped, at least on Facebook. Is this accurate? What are the shifts, or what is the underlying supply and demand shift that we're assuming is happening here right now? Susan, you want to start with that?
Sure. You know, I mean, I think it is very vertical specific, obviously. Mm-hmm. So, you know, things like travel clients, they can't really spend money and get a return right now. What's been interesting though is that in some of those cases, we don't necessarily see that there's less interest overall. So that kind of goes back to the pivoting piece where we just did a webinar yesterday for hospitality owners in the state of Minnesota, because they're starting to have some different restrictions. And so there were a lot of questions around, what does this mean? Should I be marketing? And one of the things that we have noticed is that things like traffic and brand search and stuff like that isn't down for them. So it's an interesting quandary in that they need to stay in front of people and they have to continue marketing, but they're not going to be able to convert anything right away. So there's been this shift for the clients that aren't seeing immediate results because they're somehow tied or provide a product that, thrives during this time. It's been interesting to watch the shift of focus from what converts today versus how do I stay in front of people so when they're ready to convert, I'm there. So there's definitely been that kind of shift happening more to top of funnel. And the cheaper ad costs have made that easier for people as well.
Can you, any numbers off the top of your mind, like when you're saying top of funnel, is it cost per CPM, CPC? Can you give us specific numbers that you're seeing change?
Yeah, it's there's actually I wrote probably about 2 weeks ago now. I wrote a column for Search Engine Journal on what's happening with media and COVID-19, and there's actually two agencies that are doing spreadsheets that they share externally. They're built in Data Studio, so you can kind of see what the trends have been like. So that's been interesting. But there's definitely been, areas we're seeing up to 50% off the CPMs in Facebook, depending on what they're doing. The conversion focused ones are still a little, high. It's probably not 50% off. That looks more like 25 to 30% is what we're seeing. Because everybody's still trying to go for the bottom of funnel sales. But the top of funnel stuff for like video views, engagement, website traffic, that stuff has been super cheap, like in the $3 CPM range. So it's about, 40 to 50% maybe is about what we're seeing for non-conversion stuff. So it's a big difference. I'm not seeing as much of a dramatic drop in search. Just because it tends to be so bottom of funnel. So I think that one's way more vertical specific, but not, in Facebook, for the top of funnel stuff, we're seeing those cuts pretty much across no matter what it is, the business type is.
Got it. And Gavin, are you seeing similar trends? What are you seeing?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been a funny time because we do a lot of work with health practices and doctors. And what we're finding is from a CPM basis, the cost is definitely down. So CPMs are down. And I think it's Dennis Yu, our mutual friend, I think he reported that they're seeing a 30% drop or so. So in line with the same numbers that Susan spoke of there. But what's quite interesting is although we're getting a cheaper CPM and cheaper reach, is for some of these local businesses like doctors and chiropractors, is the cost per conversion is actually up because people aren't wanting to leave their house. People don't want to leave their home and go into the business. And so, again, touching on what Susan said, it gives us a really good opportunity now to focus and double down on things like, educational video content, entertaining video content, so we can still be there at a cheaper cost. And when things go back to normal and people are, wanting to go into businesses again and leave their homes, we've got those audiences there that we can then, retarget for bottom of the funnel. So it's a funny time. Costs are definitely down, but from a CPM basis, but in terms of conversions, sometimes they're going up as well. But again, vertical specific.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting. So it sounds like we got a Facebook user here actually saying people want free stuff. They just want the free. So it sounds like the opportunity is in just acquiring audiences, bringing people to the site, acquiring email addresses, acquiring retargeting pixels, just getting the audiences on hand, not necessarily selling right now, right? That's the recommended strategy. Was that?
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, take my own business as an example. I've got a membership site that was sitting at about 100 members or so. We launched a 30-day free trial to help businesses that are struggling right now, and I think we had over 300 people sign up to that. So 3 times the amount of people that were already in there, and it's just because people are wanting that free, entertaining, educational content right now.
Right, and I think the entertaining educational is an interesting aspect of it, and I guess that's a kind of content we should be promoting more. I think we see the same thing in our ads, as well. We see that some of the more entertaining ads we have are moving a lot better. but not necessarily converting much better. They bring a lot more traffic more cheaply. So interesting. So highlight as CPM drop of 40 to 50% across the board, but then cost for conversion actually up. That's super interesting to know, and it's a wonderful opportunity for some. So what are the opportunities, or what kind of businesses are we looking at that should really dive deep now and double dip into Facebook ads? Gavin, you want to roll on here with this?
Yeah, so I mean, there's two verticals really that we're seeing the best results in currently, and one of them is online education. So people selling courses, membership sites, etc., doing really well, and I think that speaks to the fact that people are, at home, and there's maybe a perceived thing that there's more time in the day to learn and focus on these things. And the second one is e-commerce. We're seeing, one great example is. We've just started working with a new client, so I don't have the number specifically, but they came to us because they sell appliance parts. So, if you're fixing your fridge, then they sell the parts to fix the fridge. Totally not sexy product at all, but more and more people are at home. They're now sorting things in their homes, and so they're needing the parts for their appliances. So that e-commerce brand is doing really well. So that's the two spaces, the two industries that I'm seeing working really well just now.
Interesting. Susan, what are you seeing?
Yeah, kind of related to what Gavin was saying. Anything that's like a DIY piece is doing really well. So things, especially things that have to do with DIY and / hobbies or entertaining at the house. So things like gardening, toys for kids, educational things for kids, because now we're all apparently teachers for the rest of the school year. So, things like that we've seen perform really strongly. Any of those kind of home improvement projects, which kind of relates to the appliance thing that Gavin was talking about, but those things that you've just been putting off forever. I mean, I know my husband and I are guilty of that. We keep saying, like, we've saying forever, we're going to do this one thing. And so now we actually have the time to do it. So a lot of that kind of stuff. And then, there's been a shift like in the apparel piece where, nice stuff that you might wear to go out and jewelry and stuff, not so much, but athleisure is doing great because we're all at home. So we can wear yoga pants and a nice shirt or whatever. Yeah. So we've seen, things like that do well. And then, business service type stuff, we still see do pretty consistently well, just because there are certain platforms, softwares that businesses need to run no matter what. So regardless of what the economy is doing, there are things that just power their business and how they service their clients. And those have just remained pretty steady.
Right. Yeah, really interesting about the DIY. Anything has to be doing at home. I think that's a theme. There also anything educational. Veronica is saying anything with e-commerce is moving. She's saying she works with e-commerce, Shopify customers mostly. So that's great to hear. And we have somebody here asking. I was going to hold off starting my local deals coupon website, and I realized that there are many businesses who need help right now. And I also thought it would be a good way to become top of mind because everyone on social media, given what is happening, it has been going well. That's great. So they're saying it's been going way well. Yeah, somebody's saying people are not spending. Well, obviously I think that's a misconception. People are not spending on certain things, right? That's what you're saying here, that people are buying. We're hearing that people are buying things, DIY, they're at home. And the yoga pants is a good story because I think I bought a couple of pair of yoga pants. I was on a Facebook Live with somebody, I'm not going to say who admitted after the fact that she was wearing pajamas the bottom half.
I believe it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not going to ask what you guys are wearing right now, but maybe if we have enough pressure from the audience here, we could find it a little more details, some sassy people. Okay, we've got a question here about banning. Somebody, Junaid, is asking how not to get banned on Facebook. I think this is a wonderful topic. So what has changed in terms of the Facebook policies and banning? What should we be careful about today? Susan, you want to start with that?
Yeah, we were talking about this just before we hopped on, but there was something that happened a couple weeks ago where a reporter at Consumer Reports wanted to test and see Facebook's claims that they were going to disapprove or ban anything that spread misinformation, or of course there's the ban on, selling masks and all that kind of stuff. And so he ran an experiment where it was a brand new page, so it wasn't even like an aged thing with history. He created a few ads that had blatant misinformation, like telling people, go out, don't listen to the government, this is all fake, it's not real, and specifically said coronavirus and COVID and all that kind of stuff. And so he submitted them with a later start date. So they never actually, ran and told people these things, but they still had to go through the approval process, and all of them were approved. The only one that wasn't had like a respirator or a mask or something on it. So the image recognition was doing pretty well at recognizing, the e-commerce items that were banned, but it didn't seem to be particularly sensitive to the language filter. I did read the other day that, they're starting to bulk back up their approval staff. So normally that was at around like 15,000, and they actually used an outside contracting company for most of it. But based on what I read, they're starting to bulk back up, and it's internal people. So I think we'll probably see less of that slipping through, because it was a pretty big deal when that came out. But I have not seen anybody get banned yet. I've seen ads get disapproved, like for, apparel companies that have started manufacturing masks. They're not seeing that get traction for them, and they're not getting their account banned. They're just getting repeated disapprovals, which obviously you don't want anyway. So that's really the only thing I've seen. Like, I haven't seen anything that's been super crazy. It just kind of seemed like common sense stuff when it gets banned.
Right.
Yeah, and I can add on to what Susan's saying there. I've not seen any disapprovals or ad account bans, but one thing I know Facebook have come out and said is that anybody that seemed to be exploiting COVID-19 are going to get disapproved. So, if you're let's say you are a multivitamin company and you are trying to pretend that you say in your ads that this product is going to stop you from contracting flu and COVID-19, these types of big claims, you're not going to get that ad out there at all. What we have found, though, that performs well is simply in our ad copy speaking to the concerns that people have around COVID-19. So with our healthcare clients, for example, we're talking about how we're now doing teleconsultations rather than in-person consultations, and we're following these accreditations and XYZ. So we're not exploiting it, but we are almost using it in the marketing to make people feel and understand that we do actually care about them.
Right. And I think that touches or almost answers the question I was going to ask next, which is whether or not Facebook bans you is focusing on COVID-19 and the creative effective, right? I mean, is it getting a little bit too much at this point to see that image of the virus and to see the same stuff over and over again? Is there a fatigue of this? Should we emphasize this side of things, or should we just continue life as normal in a way? What about the creative side, Gavin?
Yeah, I think it's kind of funny because you look at TV adverts right now. I don't know what it's like over in the US, but in the UK, every single TV advert right now seems to be the exact same, which is kind of like the
slow piano.
Yeah, slow piano. We're all in this together,
Yeah.
which is totally boring now. But I think what we need to do is first understand that pretty much as consumers, and we're maybe getting to the end of this, but as consumers, everything that we're thinking about right now and consuming is on COVID-19 and the whole situation that we're all in. And so as a brand, it's important for us to, if it makes sense to talk about it and to answer the concerns that people have. So if you are a business that is a local business, it makes complete sense to talk about what you're doing to stop, the spread of coronavirus or help people. If you're selling, courses online, for example, then perhaps we don't need to talk about it because we're not really, COVID-19 doesn't have a massive impact on the running of the business. So I think if you, in certain industries, certain verticals, certain businesses, it makes sense to talk about it. And when I say that, I purely just mean talk about the concerns that your customers are having.
Yeah.
But in some industries, then I think you just carry on as normal.
Right. Susan, you're nodding. I take it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think people know that we have a pandemic. Like we don't have to keep restating it. It's kind of like at a certain point, it's just, I think it's becoming to the point I was reading the other day. It's like people are just starting to get annoyed by it. And it's not news anymore. Like it's ongoing developments of it are news. It's not news that it's here, right? So let's not keep belaboring that point. And I think also, there's just been so much spoon feeding where it's like, we're talking about the DIY stuff. It's like, hey, stuck at home and bored. Yes, they know they're stuck at home. Like, just get to the solution. They are very aware what their problem is. They are very aware. Like, we're stuck in a house with a 5-year-old who is highly active. I don't need you to tell me that we have to find stuff for her to do. Right. So I think that, it was kind of easy, lazy marketing for a while to just be like, this is the topic du jour and let's focus on that. But I think it's circling back to the fact that you still have to know what good your product does, given the time period that it is, and focus on those things. And for some brands, that's meant their messaging has changed because maybe, things like gardening or DIY, they sell for different reasons when it's not a pandemic, right? So like if people are snowed in, they have nothing else to do. That messaging is very different than the situation people are in now. It doesn't mean you have to be like, hey, you're stuck at home. They know that they are, right? But it's like the problems that it solves are different than what it does other times of year. Right. So it's been kind of a message pivot for brands to be like, what are the reasons, that I may have never even talked about this feature or this part of it before, because normally people don't care. But now they probably do. You don't have to spoon feed it to them as to why they care. Just highlight that piece of it. So I think that's also shifting. And then there's just also the whole, different states are going to reopen at different times. Different countries are going to do things at different times. So, you also kind of get into that thing of like, you don't want to keep talking about it too much, because after a certain point, some of that's not going to apply to everybody that's seeing your ad. You don't know what their restrictions are. You don't know if they're out anymore. So I think we've kind of gotten past the point where it makes sense to really address that very heavily.
Right, and I think that's a great point, and I think it ties into this comment we're seeing here about the one word comment, recession, and another, maybe the same person, we can't see their identity, says long-term change, and I think what you're saying really ties into this. For those of us who believe a recession is already here or coming, this pivot is actually important, because life is not going to go back to normal tomorrow, right? Mm-hmm. It might go semi-normal, but there's clearly habit changes, and the reasons why people are purchasing today will last for a little bit of a while at least. And so this kind of thinking of let's change our positioning a bit to the long-term reality that's being created, rather than let's sort of newsjack this COVID thing. Mm-hmm. That's kind of over, and that's what I'm hearing you say loud and clear. Yeah, I think that's a topic that we're soon going to be worried about more and more. What about, somebody is asking here? Okay, this is a very specific question, but I'm gonna twist this a bit into the context of today's conversation. Is there? We mentioned in the beginning that CPM is down, cost per conversion is up. Are we seeing particular channels or particular placements that are working better, perhaps, than others? And in this case, Junaid is asking about lead ads or versus driving traffic, but there's also Instagram stories versus in-feed, et cetera. Have you seen any kind of interesting dynamic in any specific placement? Susan, you want to start there?
So what's been interesting is that I've seen, areas where Facebook was kind of falling off as far as performance is concerned. I've actually seen it do pretty strong. One of the things that I have noticed, and this could just be in the accounts that I'm managing right now, but it seems like the Instagram side is more expensive, which wouldn't surprise me if that's the case all over, because when you look at what's performing well, there was actually a story the other day that Instagram is actually kind of like quote unquote winning as much as one can win during COVID. But from an engagement standpoint, they're the ones they're doing great. And when I mentioned before about the agencies that are tracking the media costs, when they tracked, you could see Facebook and Instagram separately. And so the costs both plummeted, but the uptick for Instagram CPMs had already started. And this was about a week ago that I looked. So they were starting to rebound on their costs, not as high as they were, of course, but definitely creeping back up faster than Facebook. So, I mean, it's anecdotal on my side, but I just feel like I'm seeing lower costs on the Facebook side versus the Instagram side. And it could just be, from a competition perspective, Instagram's just a lot harder right now because that's where everyone's spending time. But that's kind of what I've seen so far.
Yeah, I would say that I've not really seen anything that would make me, jump out of my seat and say, right, let's turn off all placements on Facebook or Instagram. But touching on what Susan said there, I think if you look at the types of businesses that are doing well right now, where it's, e-commerce and clothing and these types of brands, they're probably more likely to advertise on the likes of Instagram, which means that there's more competition there and CPMs go up. So that could be one of the reasons that that's happening over on Insta. But nothing my end I can say I'm like, nope, we are turning off all ads on Instagram because the costs aren't there.
Yeah. Although I did see an anecdotal example. I was checking out. I had to drive to the office in Boston the other day to pick up something, and so I wondered if I thought, I wonder if there's anything in the city to drive by and look at. So I checked out a couple of websites to see what's in Boston during the lockdown, and I saw an ad for taking like a sail cruise or something like that. Like I'm like, wait a minute, somebody forgot to turn off that ad set, so that's just running there and wasting money. So definitely, sometimes one should just turn off a whole a whole ad set or a whole campaign. What about so to wrap up this segment of today's session, what about any particular advice you have or any particular lesson? I know we covered a lot here. So what's like your either a summary or particular advice that we haven't covered today? Gavin, sorry. What are you? What's yours?
Yeah, my advice is something that I would always push, actually, but more so in a time like this, which is, if you're a business that maybe has had to close or reduce budget for all the reasons that we've spoken about, is look at how can you use ads, not in a way to try and get customers right now and make sales, but to build your audience. So can we look at producing video content, posting that on Facebook, promoting that out to our audience, and start to amass a group of people and an audience of people that are watching these videos and educating them on the thing that it is that you do sell. Because like we've spoken about, the CPMs are down, which gives you a perfect opportunity to get more people watching your content than you would be able to before for the same amount of money. And when everything goes back to normal, that's going to give you a perfect retargeting audience to retarget to with your offer, whatever that offer is going to be. And these people by that point should hopefully know you, like you, trust you, because you've been the one that's providing that educational content. And chances are your competitors haven't been. So that would be my advice.
And I hear you're saying video ads are the way to go, right? That's
video is my favorite because it means it's native to Facebook and we can essentially get more views on that video. But if you're a writer, then sending people to a blog post or even trying to build your email list at the same time is going to be equally as beneficial.
Right. And just to add on top of that, we do campaigns where we target video viewers as well. So video views are cheap. If we target the right audience, the right interest, then we target the people who viewed those videos at a slightly higher CPM or slightly higher CPC to kind of convert them later. So you can definitely do a lot with video viewers. Thanks. Susan, what is your advice or words of wisdom here?
I am 100% in agreement with what Gavin said. I think the other piece of that too is that I see a lot of businesses because it was kind of what we touched on before, but because they've always sold their product one way, they struggle to think about it in any other way. They've always kind of focused on these same features and benefits because that's what people care about during a normal time. So one of the things that I think is hard, and it's hard for product managers and business owners because they're so close to what it is they sell that they don't necessarily think like a consumer. Mm-hmm. But I would encourage businesses to seek out some opinions from people about the benefits of their product during a time like this that they may not be thinking of. Because a lot of times there are some where it's, they're like, well, there's this, doohickey on my widget that I sell that no one ever cares about, but they might really care about it right now.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just a matter of there's nothing wrong with your product. And instead of assuming no one's going to buy it, you have to think about it through a different lens. And especially for products, where people have sold them for years and years and years the same way, that's a very difficult exercise. It's hard to do. But I would encourage businesses to do it on kind of a global level with your products too, because you're also going to want to think ahead to once this passes, do the features change back again once you get to Christmas? And if it is a recession, like think ahead about what the possible scenarios are for the rest of the year, so that as you're examining your product with fresh eyes, you have sort of an idea about how to approach that each phase of that.
Awesome. I love that. And yeah, if anybody wants to see a creative way of selling your product or positioning your product in a creative way, check out what advertisers are doing in TikTok, because nobody is selling the product the same way they do on TikTok. It's just completely out of the box by definition. So yeah, maybe a year from now, we'll all be doing TikTok everywhere, TikTok style videos. I see there are a lot of questions here in the comments of topics that are related to COVID-19, but not related to the topic of ads. So I'm sorry if we didn't answer them. We will get back in the conversation, and please, everybody who is participating, please do look at those questions and see if you can have something to add. Some of them are great questions. Somebody's asking, okay, yeah, not more comments of very interesting comments there. So thank you, Susan and Gavin. We're still going to continue the session here, but I'm going to say goodbye to the both of you right now because this was the end of that segment. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Yep. We'll put Gavin's and Susan's links in the comments after the show, or please go ahead and do it yourselves. So if somebody wants to get in touch with you, they can. And thanks again.
Thank you so much. Cheers.
Okay, so thanks for everybody who's still with us. What we're going to do now is go into another section here where we're going to talk about how to make ads with Wave.video. And what I'd like to do is make this a little more interactive. So I'm going to open the editor and show you how to make ads, but I want to grab some example here from the audience. So if you're with us here, we've still got a bunch of people here. Please type in the comments, like, tell me what kind of ad or what kind of industry you're in, what do you sell or what do you promote? And let's try to make an ad here together online. So I'll pick one or two, and we will do it together. While I'm waiting for your comments, I'm going to share a couple of ads that we've made that have been very successful and have been kind of different. And I will talk about them a little bit. So I'll just kind of play a couple here again. And if you could be as specific as you can, I see somebody saying consulting here. So try to be a little more specific so I can work with it. Retail vacuum store. Great stuff. Good. Okay, so while you're typing in the comments, I'm going to share my screen here. And I'm just going to share a couple of videos. They're short, just so you can see what we've been up to. So this is one that started out with the idea of kind of everybody's watching nowadays the Tiger King, and kind of evolved from there into just kind of playing around with these different kinds of videos. And so this is a really fun video we made. We were just kind of experimenting. We just tried it out there and wanted to see, can we do something a little more out of the box, a little different? To our surprise, it actually worked quite well in terms of traffic, specifically more so on stories and on Instagram. This ad here, which is a much shorter one, did super well. And it's actually, we have to kind of wait for it to start from the beginning to see the whole thing. Here we go. Video marketing is easy peasy lemon squeezy, like really simple. But the graphic, the video background we picked here was really just kind of engaging and fun. So we thought this would be a lot of fun. And this one is driving a ton of traffic to us. So it's just one of those things that we just normally wouldn't have thought of doing, but we challenged ourselves to make something just fun. Again, this one works very well on stories and Instagram, not so well on desktop and retargeting. Interestingly enough, this one is one that I'm really fond of. It's got a music track, but I'll leave it off. We kind of thought of a meme and kind of try to connect with people a little more emotionally, or empathize, have a little empathy to what they are going through, but yet, of course, have that link to our product. And I was worried when I first saw this video because I thought, wait a second, only those who watch the video 100% are going to watch, are going to know our brand or see the unique selling proposition in it. But it turns out that it's actually driving a lot more leads than some of the other ads we have. So I kind of like this one as well. And again, some videos work for a while and then don't work so much anymore. You got to experiment with a bunch of them. Okay, so back to our conversation here. Let's see what we've got. I'm just going to post a few of these ideas here. We've got, let's see, retail vacuum store. This is awesome. Maybe we can work with that. Supporting takeout foods. Okay, that's great. We've got a template for that. I'll show it in a second. Immune booster. Okay, food supplements, immune boosters, art and photography. I assume that that James, you're a photographer, and you do photography services. Veronica wants to know how I did the intro for live. Made it with Wave, of course. I actually didn't make it personally myself, but one of our team members did, Maria. So I can show you a bit of that after we go through the ads here. If you want to stay, Veronica. Children's craft activities, nice. Urgent care. Somebody put their video in there. Restaurant ads for those doing carryouts. Okay, second one here. Feng Shui consulting. Okay, we've got some really interesting stuff. All of these are good. So I'm going to try and make maybe something that's more relevant for a lot of these. We had, let's see, children's crafts, urgent care. With urgent care, we can play around with the urgent aspect. Give me 2 seconds here to recoup because this is impromptu live. So I hope you're forgiving for not running as fast as normally. Arts and photography. Oh, that would be visual. That would be really great. We can easily do that. Children's craft activities. Let's play with this one, actually, because I think this is a more challenging one. But I'll try to address all the other ones here. So I'm actually going for something that's a little more challenging, but I can also relate to this issue because we have kids. I have 2 kids at home, 2 teenagers, and they're going crazy and driving me crazy. And I'm not doing as much as I would love them to do. So I think we can all relate to that. So once I find an emotional connection there, I would like to work on that. Okay, so video ads for booking services. Okay, we're going to keep coming, which is great. Ideas keep coming. Fantastic. Okay, let's go into our editor, and we will try to do something here. So the first thing you can do is go to our templates. And in the templates, you will find under use cases, here you'll find promotional video, special offers, always work well. Let's filter here. I really like this pizza one. So somebody here was saying a restaurant and delivery services. So that'll relate to you. And I can just edit this template right there. Okay, just gonna enlarge the screen a bit so it looks this window. There we go. Now, this video actually has a really cool trick to it. So I'm just going to play it for you for a second here. Okay, so you can see the real interesting feature in this ad is the visual effect, right? It's not so much the message or the storytelling. There's not much of that. It's just the visual effect of like, oh, round stuff turning around. That's pretty cool. It's actually a round video because on the white background on Facebook, you're just going to see the roundness. So it's just going to appear like a round video with some sort of callouts here. And you can do deliveries you can promote deliveries, etc. So this is pretty cool. And this can apply to anybody who's making video ads. Just kind of go for the visual effect here. So for doing pizza or vacuum cleaners, we can dump them all in here. Photos as well, we can just replace it. There's a replace button in there, and we can replace it with vacuum. Let's see. Vacuum cleaner. Oh, that's funny. So I like to do something funny, and this could also work for kids' activities, which is great, right? So we can change the text. Now the text you can move around freely, and in this case, I like the fact that the text is kind of outside the circle. Notice that we have this layout picked out here. And I'm going to keep with this layout. But if we wanted to change it, I just hit the layout button on the left here, and I can pick any layout I want. So in this case, I can do the above and below the video, and I can move the text around. If I want to ungroup the text, I can ungroup it, move it up, above and below, maybe change the background color to something a little more dramatic, so it just stands out in the feed. Bright colors, things that stand out, usually tend to work well. Although if you go too aggressive, it might not. So what I would always do is do a lot of A/B tests, try different color schemes. Do I want to be more aggressive with the colors, less? See if it makes a big difference. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. It really depends on your target audience and your ad creative and so on. I'll just hit the undo button here, go back to our circle, and just stick to this pizza template. What did my delivery thing? There we go. Okay. So one thing you might want to do, speaking about backgrounds, I just go to the background here. Maybe I'll do a red background, switch to a yellow background, then switch to a blue background. Just do a little, create here a little more of a color contrast. Go another pink one, pink and yellow. Let's make, yeah, okay, I'll stick to pink. You can always choose custom and so on, and just like right in here, choose a custom color if you want. Create your brand and save all your colors. But I'll just leave, actually, let's make it purple like that. There we go. So the visual effect is going to be very different now, right? It's a lot more dramatic, if you will, even though I could probably do a better job picking colors. But I wouldn't worry when it comes to ads. I wouldn't worry necessarily about it being pretty. I'd worry about it being impactful and noticeable, right? Then unless you're doing very, very good storytelling, when you're doing really good storytelling, you probably you might be a little more subtle with your visuals. Okay, so we're going to work on kids activities here, right? So let's create one from scratch and do something about kids activities right here. Where'd I go? Let's just create here a new one from scratch. So you go into here and just do new video, start from scratch. There we go. Okay, now if you've got some media of your own, you can just upload it. Otherwise, choose from the library. So if you're selling kids, what is it? Arts and crafts and kids activities, children's craft activities. Okay, so let's do children. And in this case, we can do, I'm going to look for beginning of the story being children going crazy, they're bored, and then we'll show them doing arts and crafts, right? So I'm already seeing like crazy arts and crafts, crazy kids, and I'm thinking, okay, this is a good way to connect the story together. So I'm just going to go start with maybe bored. I'm just going to heart this one so I can remember it, heart this one and remember it. And maybe happy kids. Okay, so I got a couple that they like, and I'm just going to try maybe bored. Here we go. Nope, he's got this one. Here we go. Perfect, right? So we start with, and you can play around with this topic, with this theme. Like maybe it's bored kids. Maybe the kids are driving their parents crazy. Just play around with this idea. You can make multiple different ads like this, right? Kids at home. Getting a little bit of a lag time here. At home. I'm not going to fuss about the language right now because I'm just kind of live here under the gun. So I'll just do as a placeholder for you to understand the logic, and then we can tweak the language afterwards, right? Now text is kind of really ugly now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it smaller, not too small. Make this one a bit better. There we go. And choose maybe, let me see here. Let me pick a color that is closer to background color for the text. Something that's closer to the, no. Let's do white, actually, like that. Now, you'll notice what we want to know is the timeline here on the bottom is what shows us how long the ad is going to be. 15 seconds is great for an ad. Some ads, I would experiment with longer and shorter ads as well, see how that goes for you. But 15 seconds is usually really great, especially if you're going to make a story out of it. So you just hit the resize button there and make it a story ad. But we want to make sure we got enough time to read for the viewer to read the text. So to see how long the text is should be on the screen, I read it out loud as I play. So kids at home with nothing to do. Okay, so it was even a bit long, right? So I would shorten it. If the speed of reading out loud is about the speed at which your audience is going to read the text, I might want to add a bit of a delay in the second sentence, and that allows the reader to finish the first sentence before the first one comes up, help them focus their attention. There we go. And in this case, I might want to make it slightly longer because I added that 1.5 second delay in there. So let's see what this looks like. Yeah, you see, it needs a bit more length right there, 4 seconds. Oh, yep, let's make this, turn this into a question mark. Again, not going to be too fussy about it. So at this point, I can just end the scene right there and add another scene. So we wanted to pick from our favorite, the one where they're doing where they're going crazy. And then they find a solution, which is the arts and crafts, right? Actually, now if to do this, I wanted to add a text box, right? The text box might not show up in the exact same place. So here's a little trick. I could just add a text there, but if I wanted to stay consistent, I could just duplicate here. You see there's a little duplicate button? I can duplicate and then just replace the video with this one. There we go. So now I got this video and this video in the background, and just change the text. And it's a shortcut for staying consistent. Or are your teenagers going crazy? Maybe that should be one sentence. You get the drift. So third one will be, how about some arts and crafts? Again, you could use your own images or videos if you've got any for any specific arts and crafts you might like. So in here we get the solution. We have loads of crafts. I'm busy. My lifetime. Right, and then call to action at the end, add your logo. Now I'll just pick this one, visit. Actually, let's do this way. Shop today, free delivery. What have you, right? Again, all of these are placeholders. We want to fix the colors. We want to fix the fonts, change the text a bit, and you might want to develop the story a bit more, right? But I managed to get a story in here in 15 seconds. And let's just make this shorter. That's fine. So let's see what this looks like. There we go. All we have left now to do is to change the, to really clean this up. And what we can do from there is to take the is to develop the story a bit, try different, slightly different stories, different colors, etc. I've got somebody asking, is it possible to take the logo off? Yes, actually there is no logo. So here's just a tip. When you are in this and the call to action, there's a misconception. People think that this will show up on your video. It doesn't. It's just a placeholder to add a logo. So if you have nothing here, this will show nothing. It won't show up on your end video. Okay, so that's an important thing. There is no logo even in the free account on the videos. You can use it as freely as you like. Yeah, we've got people with loads of questions. So here we go. So that you're ready. Once you're done with this, you can change to different formats. Easy enough. Make a square. Let's make a story out of this and see how that works. We can do vertical. There we go. Change it to vertical. And let's maybe try a bit of a layout here. Like give it a nice little frame. Maybe this frame is nicer. This frame, and give it a little bit of background color. Like maybe a nice blue or yellow to be really annoying. No, let's make it blue. Right. So do the same thing here. So we stay consistent throughout our scenes. Maybe actually make this one yellow. There we go. Give this one again. Nope. I want this one. Background pink. Okay. There we go. So just like that, we made it into a story ad. Keep your scenes short. Keep your messages short as you can. Something like that. See, no logo at the end. Yep, you're very welcome. No worries. Yeah, so there we go. Somebody was asking, or was it Veronica was asking about how to make the intro for the video. So yeah, what's really different between this and the intro is that I added a soundtrack. Soundtrack made a huge difference. So let's add a quick soundtrack. And here, actually, add music on the left. Just pick something like maybe news, breaking news. There, oops, we just need news. News flash. New theme. If I throw it in there, I'll just pick this one. Change it, makes all the difference in the world when there's music, right? And we use stickers. So what we did was we had layouts and stickers. And so when we use graphics and stickers like this, you can upload any image you want and put them in as a sticker. So for instance, I'm making a mess here on the screen. Just ignore the demo we did up till now and just look at the feature I'm presenting, okay? So I can put this in as a sticker, and you can put a frame on it, so you can make it round, etc. You can set a little bit of an animation on it, so you can even spin it in like that, or what have you. And you can set if it's above or below other elements. So if I want this to be behind the text, I can do like that, right? So we use stickers to bring in all of those little elements in the intro, and we uploaded a couple of custom pieces in there as well. So that's how we made it, actually, Veronica. And I know you're a seasoned Wave.video user, so I think you'll know how to run with it from there. The transitions between the scenes are also important. So you can sometimes like a doorway would be more dramatic, or that's what you might use, or swipe left sometimes, like that can be cool. Right? You can do all these different things to create a little more drama and a little more interest. So with the and Veronica, I hope that's answering your questions. If you want to add a countdown clock for an intro, choose from library and just search countdown. So I can pick, say, this one here. Again, ignore the mess of the storyline that I'm creating here, but I hope this all works. You move the countdown to the beginning. Make sure that it's stretched out throughout so it goes down to 0. No text on this one, and just and you're good to go. Just this, right? I'd want to go back to horizontal, of course. Now, what you could also do is put a little color filter on it so it matches the color of the next screen. So it's it's a bit more consistent there. It won't dramatically change the color, but it'll just make it feel a little more consistent between the different scenes. Let me know, Veronica, if that answers the question. If not, I can make a tutorial that's more specific for you later on. Okay, thank you everybody for joining in. I see it's kind of quieted down with the questions, but thanks for sticking out with me till the end here. Appreciate it. Let me stop the screen share. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments. Please feel free to reach out to me or any of the team members directly. We're all here in the Wave.video group. And if you're watching outside the Wave.video group, please consider joining. We have a lot of cool stuff going on there, and a lot of events like this one happening. We have something really cool happening next week, and a really cool video funnels challenge coming up early next month. So yeah, hope to see you there. You're welcome, Mitzi. Thank you, everybody. Time for an outro. So thanks you, everybody.